So I have a lot of patients that come to me not as mental health clients, usually coming for some type of pain or some dysfunction in digestion or sleep or something like that. And then we figure it out that there's a mental aspect or emotional aspect.
Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the first ever official episode of the Truehope Canada podcast. My name is Simon and I'm going to be your host. This podcast is brand new to everybody here at Truehope, and we want to begin a discussion using different therapies for the treatment, healing and prevention of mental health conditions. Obviously a huge topic, but here at Truehope it's something that we are viciously committed to. If you're unfamiliar with Truehope Canada, we are a mind and body based supplement company that is very much dedicated first and foremost to promoting brain and body health through non-invasive nutritional means. And if you want some more information about us, you can go and check out our website, which is just truehopecanada.com, and you can find us on all the usuals: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and more recently on Parler, MeWe and Rumble. You can just search for Truehope Canada. But enough of that. Today we've got the wonderful company of Lacy Brandt, and Lacy is a registered acupuncturist and graduate of the Diploma of Acupuncture program at Pacific Rim College. She lives and practices in Victoria, BC, and today we're going to be discussing the application of acupuncture when it comes to mental health. So first of all, Lacy, welcome. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'm sure right now is really, really busy for your whole industry. So thanks for being here. Welcome. How are you? I'm
good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me here.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to have you, and the first ever Truehope podcast. What an honor.
No pressure.
No pressure. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into acupuncture? Because I think whether you're a nutritionist or an ND or a herbalist, everyone's got a really interesting personal story when it comes to kind of finding the calling for using some sort of healing mechanism for people. So please share a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, it's been a long journey of life. I originally had a different career path in mind, but I experienced some challenges and changes of mind early in my post-secondary career. So I studied to be a physiotherapy assistant, and then I wanted to be a physiotherapist. Throughout that, I started working in hospitals and seeing a lot of patients in extreme states of pain and in life-changing situations. I was conditioned at that time to really just look at the physical body. But a lot of the time I would find myself, comforting a patient, talking about the bigger life picture of what it's going to be after, a motor vehicle accident or a stroke or brain injury, and the emotions and stress that came with that. And then kind of getting in trouble for spending that extra time and kind of going outside of the scope of what we were trained to do, what we were expected to do, and setting expectations that were probably not going to be met by other people in the profession.
Okay.
So that didn't sit well with me. By the time I finished my undergrad, which I took at University of Calgary, studying community rehab and disability studies, I had learned about the psychosocial model of care versus just the biomedical. Okay. And it just kind of unraveled this different want in me to treat the body, the mind, and the whole person, regardless of how that was. And I didn't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, that's a pretty big thing to realize.
Yeah.
And then how do you pull that together into a path?
Yeah, and throughout that journey, I was experiencing large amounts of pain myself, physically, mentally. I had a lot of digestive issues, and I would go to the hospital as a patient myself, and they'd tell me to go away, that I was crazy, and I needed to eat more fiber.
Classic.
Which was awesome. Eventually, with the stress of, an existential crisis of, I don't know what I want to do with my life, traveling, a breakup, all the things that could happen, the perfect storm led to the biggest flare I've had of Crohn's disease, which is inflammatory bowel disease, which led me to be an inpatient in the hospital, have surgery, be on immunosuppressants, and just really kind of rock bottom. Decided I needed to start living life for myself, deal with all the emotional stuff I was carrying around and repressing, which was causing physical pain in my body. And then, and then that led me to, seeking out alternatives to what I was being told to do. I was 22 at the time, had been threatened to have an ostomy bag for the rest of my life, and was on immunosuppressants and having to check my blood count constantly to ensure that I wasn't going to be infected by anything I could pick up.
All right.
With my immune system that suppressed just to keep me healthy, quote unquote healthy.
Sure.
So I looked into acupuncture and herbs, and I attended regular appointments at a school in Calgary. At that time I was living in Calgary, and I went twice a week. I committed to a treatment program. I worked with my medical doctor as well, weaned off the medication, and got my quality of life back. I was no longer feeling like a zombie. I was in more control of my digestion and said symptoms that come along with that. And then just from experiencing that treatment and what we talked about in those treatments, I was like, whoa, maybe this all happened for a reason. I don't know. Acupuncture is really cool. I'm going to study that now. That's a way I can, ask people about their emotional experience, their physical pain, and incorporate that into a treatment. It's easier on my body. Cool. And then I moved to Victoria to study it.
How, just fast forwarding, how does going through that experience and then, being at a point where you're looking at surgery, a life of drugs, and then you find this alternative therapy, complementary therapy, and this helps you significantly. How does that whole experience help you when you're, dealing with somebody who is dealing with, anything pathological when they come and see you, having that, your own personal experience with it?
I think it increased my capacity for empathy. I can relate to a lot of pain that people have been in. Inflammatory bowel disease affects not only your digestive system, but it affects every other system in your body, and your mental health, like the gut-brain axis, as being a nutritional supplement in a company and a nutritionist yourself, they're so related. And I would always be at large depths of depression or anxiety when I went through a flare. So it's interesting, seeing that in clients and being able to point that out to them, and then we can work from both sides.
Yeah, and I'm sure your clients, because you do have that empathy and that connection, that authenticity of having experiences yourself, that only makes that therapeutic bond between the two of you that much stronger, and it allows that person to kind of give in a little bit to you, the treatment and the process and the healing that goes along with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So so you're in acupuncture school. You moved to Vancouver Island to do that, to PRC, a school that I'm very familiar with as well, Pacific Rim College, and you study there. Tell us a little bit about your experience at school.
Studying traditional Chinese medicine is wild. It's learning a new language. Literally, we took medical Mandarin. It was so interesting to kind of find these answers for what I had experienced, what other people are experiencing, and put it all together. It was really hard.
Yeah.
I think the dropout rate for the first year of acupuncture programs is pretty high, just because it's, it's like learning a system that is so foreign from what we focus on in the Western world. Thankfully, that's changing, and the popularity of it is increasing, and the acceptance of it is just way more common these days, and especially in Victoria. Made it a lot easier studying here, I'm sure.
Well, you're stepping into an educational modality that is thousands of years old, that's been through, so many different, it's just been through so much time, and to basically step into a classroom and begin, where do you even begin to grasp something that's like so ancient, so old? I think it's truly incredible that, I studied nutrition at the same school. The TCM lot were a different breed in a really, really, really good way, because I always found the learning of acupuncture and TCM to be really, really overwhelming. But again, you had that experience yourself with the actual practice, which is only going to motivate you to investigate that beautiful mystery between the balance between the science and the mystical. It's really fascinating. Okay, so why don't we educate ourselves a little bit about what acupuncture is? I think everybody is familiar with the fact that it's needles going into your body. I've had a lot of personal experience of acupuncture, some wonderful experiences, especially here in Victoria. But why don't you can you take us through a little bit about what acupuncture is? I know that the fact that it's incredibly welcomed in the scientific community now, and there's so much research. You can go through PubMed, and there's so much science and research done on the use of acupuncture for many different things, literally everything. Mm-hmm. So it's not this mystical fairy energy thing. It's real, it's physical, and it's a really powerful thing. So maybe you could just explain to us a little bit in your own words, what is acupuncture?
Yeah. Acupuncture is a traditional Chinese medicine practice of regulating the body into a state of balance, or homeostasis, as we know it on the western side of the world, by inserting small needles into specific points in the body. These points are picked strategically by a registered acupuncturist, traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, or a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine. It is important to reach out to regulated professionals practicing this.
That's obviously incredibly important.
Yeah. So these professionals, whether it's a registered acupuncturist or a TCMP, choose the specific points that are unique for that person based on their personal medical history, their physical presentation. So we look at the tongue to kind of give us a picture of what's going on inside of the body. And we also feel the pulse on each wrist, the radial pulse, for different qualities related to different systems. And then we compare them to each other to see if there's states of excess or deficiency, what's really out of balance, and then we match it up with what the person is telling us about their experience, about their emotional state, about their stress, about their pain, where is their pain, what channel. Mm-hmm. We learn about anatomy and physiological.
Physiology. Oh, physiology. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But then we also we add a lens of traditional Chinese medicine and look at fascial channels of acupuncture points, and we look for blockages. We look at the organs and how they relate to each other, not just the function of one organ, because it's the sum of all the organs and all the parts of the body that create the health of the body. So
that's really cool. And obviously you're discussing with the client, they fill out some sort of intake form to kind of figure out to get some stuff on paper, so you can get a little bit of a story about what's been going on for them and get some specifics on that. But can you tell us a little bit more about the tongue and pulse diagnosis, because I think that's really interesting as well.
Yeah, so right now during COVID, we're kind of going without the tongue unless we're able to,
that makes sense,
to physically distance while somebody flashes their tongue, because masks are mandatory for treatments.
Sure.
But in normal days,
okay.
We would look for different colors on the tongue to represent different, states of heat or blood. you can kind of sense if somebody's anemic based on their symptoms, and then looking at their tongue, looking for a pale tongue. You can see teeth marks on the side of the tongue. If a tongue is swollen and thicker than normal, we're then to ask about water metabolism. How's your bladder? How's your kidney? How's your everything regulating inside? Different coats of the tongue, of course, mean different things to us. And then skipping over to the pulse, we're looking at the rate of pulse, but we're also pushing to different levels. There's different organs represented on different sides of the body, and looking for qualities of, somebody's super stressed. You can feel this wiry, bounding tension in like almost like a headache in the pulse.
Wow.
So it just kind of leads us. You can even press a point and feel a difference in the pulse sometimes. It's pretty amazing.
So a combination of looking at somebody's tongue, and when you said excess, is that the kind of like redness and swelling that you're talking about?
Yeah. If you look at somebody who's in an acute state of pain or acute flare-up of any condition, and there's like redness, swelling, inflammation, you're seeing an excess state in a person, excess pain. So you can typically feel that in the pulse. The nervous system is in a reactive fight or flight state that increases the heart rate, increases blood flow, and different things. So you can feel it in the pulse.
Wow, cool. That's so before you've even put a needle in, you're obviously doing a lot of work when it comes to figuring out obviously there's so many points.
Yeah.
And like what you want to work with. So yeah, a lot of investigation goes in before you start the acupuncture process.
Oh yeah. I think people who have never experienced acupuncture come for their first session, and we throw a lot of questions at you. Different people practice differently. I know in community settings it's harder to ask a lot of questions, but privately is how I practice. One person in a room, my full attention on them. I get a lot of weird looks and asking a lot of questions when it comes to like bowel movements or women's health and things like that. But
why you want to look at my tongue?
It's all important parts of the picture
that,
we can do non-invasively.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And I think when you're working with an acupuncturist and you start developing a relationship there, and you're going for more than like 1 or 2 visits, obviously somebody goes to an acupuncturist because they have something going on for them that's probably taken years, if not maybe decades. So you shouldn't expect that going to one acupuncture treatment is gonna fix 10 years of digestive problems.
100%.
Okay.
It's like the biggest thing we have to preach, and setting people up for a very strict's the wrong word, but a regular treatment program that has frequent concentrated treatments at the beginning, usually to get the body just nudging it towards that state of homeostasis. And then once we get there, treatments can be spaced out. But yeah, typically weekly, bi-weekly treatments at the beginning are the way to make acupuncture effective. And a lot of people, for some reason come thinking it's a miracle cure-all. It's like mysticized and everything like that. But no, it's something like every other modality in health, needs to happen regularly for it to work.
Yeah, exactly. Like whether it's using herbs or nutrition or movement, you need to obviously have that commitment to that practice, and working with somebody who is registered and qualified and that you actually find yourself connecting with. You're beginning to commit to your own healing, and staying on that path is obviously very important. Yeah.
It's like going to the gym and expecting to lose 50 pounds that you've put on over 5 years, and being very disappointed when it doesn't happen that first time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the expectation there is important to recognize. So how does acupuncture relate to the nervous system and mental health? Obviously here at Truehope, it's a massive focus for us, and we want to, with this first session, we want to start speaking to different practitioners about that connection between what they do and the nervous system and mental health. So Do you think you can answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So acupuncture, like I just touched on, we ask questions about all facets of health. And by figuring out what's going on in a person's body, we can treat everything as a whole system. So I have a lot of patients that come to me not as mental health clients, usually coming for some type of pain or some dysfunction in digestion or sleep or something like that. And then we figure it out that there's a mental aspect or emotional aspect, even as far as, asking somebody, oh, this pain started a year ago. What happened a year ago in your life? Was there an increase in stress? Was there a death, a grief, like a big emotion that perhaps you were pushed into the busyness of life and you hunkered down and you were really strong, but you didn't process that. So we're really good. We're taught to pick up patterns too. So there's different ways. There's like kind of types of people. We call them constitutions. In some schools of acupuncture, you learn about 5 elements. You learn about, like an earth constitution, a fire constitution. You learn about personalities and then tendencies of people as well.
Yeah.
So we can identify those patterns and then use our tools of acupuncture, breathing, meditation, food therapy. I refer out to herbs because I didn't study herbs, to regulate the whole body, and that involves emotions and mental health. But specifically acupuncture, stimulating specific points, works with the central nervous system to release endorphins and increase the body's natural painkillers. So a lot of people with chronic pain, like their mood, their stress affects those states of mental health. The somatic expressions of anxiety or depression, heaviness in the body, palpitations, digestion issues, we can treat by regulating the nervous system, stimulating parts of the brain that release, neurotransmitters like serotonin, and then also work with the digestion or work with, the shoulder injury that is holding somebody back from participating in their regular exercise, which is leading to them feeling down, them not being able to exercise and release endorphins physically themselves, and get them back. I love acupuncture. It's really cool.
I can see it in your face when you're talking about it. Yeah, you've obviously got a clear passion for it, and it's anything that's got 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years of history to it that definitely deserves that type of attention. I've got a question for you. How much does the application of acupuncture have to do with helping the body? Oh, how do I word this? Helping yourself kind of get out of the way for your body to kind of do its thing and fix it up, because obviously your body's got the ability to heal, and it's got the ability to manufacture an arsenal of chemicals to heal, make you feel good, make you feel bad. Like your body can do all these kinds of things. So the actual, I just think of just like the application of a needle, whether that's opening up flow or getting rid of a blockage of some kind to help the body heal itself. Like, what do you think about that?
I think I'm understanding your question.
Okay.
I might kind of segue and maybe define what they call qi in traditional Chinese medicine.
That's perfect,
then kind of go from there. So qi has been referred to as vital energy, life force. I like to think of it as more of potential. So it's the energy that kind of animates us as living beings. In Western medicine, we can say it's like ATP in a cell.
Okay.
But yeah, it's our potential. When we're deficient in qi, you're, dragging yourself through life, your mood's probably going to be low, and just that vitality isn't there. in Chinese medicine, we'd say qi has the jobs of warming our body, circulating things, keeping things in flow, defending our body from external forces, whether that is, somebody's mood when they come in the room and
Right.
and you're sensitive to it, or even pathogens, viruses. So qi is potential in my terms. So how does the body heal itself, and how does acupuncture help it? Was that your question?
Yeah, I think you certainly answered it, and I think the thing that was missing from my rant was the word qi, right? Because obviously our body's always trying to create homeostasis in a quite dynamic environment, and it needs it needs that level of qi or energy, whatever that is, in order to do it. And then there are things in our external world that cause us to be deficient or weak or low or whatever that is, but I believe that our body is always trying to reach an optimal level of health. And yeah, there's things like acupuncture and other things that we can do that can help us help our body get to that.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that acupuncture is good for doing that, because I think our modern day problem is being really busy, really overstimulated. We're staring at screens all the time. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm not perfect. I'm so perfect. Human. But when we're in a state where we're paying attention just so much all the time, feeling this pressure to perform all the time, we just can't expect our energy to have that much potential 24/7. So that's why you see, if you go on Instagram or anything, like acupuncturists are like, rest. We want you to rest.
Yeah.
We don't want you to be lazy. We want you to have unstructured, unpressured time to just allow your tissues, your cells, your brain to just be itself without any stimulus. And acupuncture sessions are great physiologically with the changes we can make, inserting points into specific points, prescriptions to create that in the body. But it's also wonderful because we leave you without your phone and in a dark, dimly lit. We create an ambiance and a comfortable place for you to rest. And we have your phone away on silent. We leave you alone. We might come in and stimulate the points a little bit, but generally we're trying to have a very neutral environment for you to just be. And
yeah, that's one of the best things I found about, especially going to community acupuncture in one of those beautiful lazy boy type of chairs, that being a busy person and thinking busy as well all of the time, but actually being somewhat a little bit like self forced to sit down and actually take that time to honor myself, to actually rest. And whenever I did sit up in that chair and get some needles and bring that attention inward, I would have the best 45-minute nap of my life every time, guaranteed, no problem. Because as you say, you don't have you're taking so much of that external, let's say unnatural stimulus away, and you're able to put your body in a position where it can be like, oh, okay, finally he's turned the computer off, he's put the phone away, and he's in a space here that I can really work with. And then your body's just goes to town. And for me, it was my eyes would just shut and I would just wake up feeling completely restored, I'd had a 9-hour uninterrupted sleep. And it was pretty profound the first time that happened for me.
Yeah, I remember seeing you snoring in one of the clinics.
That's great. Awesome.
It's we call it the AcuZone too. That happens when the needles go in and these endorphins are released. I describe to my clients or patients that come in that, there is an expectation for you to feel relaxed. Sometimes that doesn't happen because people are so weirded out having needles in them for the first time. Segue, needles are not supposed to be painful. They're very small and they're not to be afraid of. But yeah, once they're in, people generally feel sleepy. They have a nap or feel this place between sleep and wake. Some even describe it as mild euphoria, like a meditative state. I also, if I find somebody is really wound up or experiencing a lot of anxiety or a pattern that's really blocking them, I will play guided meditations for them just as an added level of relaxation to treatment, or prescribe them to listen to them at home. Acupuncture is so relaxing.
Yeah, it seriously is. I remember the first time I ever had a needle in was in my first year of nutrition school at PRC, and one of my clinics was held by a nutritionist and also an acupuncturist, and we didn't have anyone in clinic that day. And I happened to mention I'd never had acupuncture before, and to say that at Pacific Rim College is quite weird. So I sat down and we turned the lights down a little bit, and I got really comfortable. And her name is Jennifer. Jennifer put this one needle in the top of my head, and I was a little bit freaked out by it, but I completely trusted her, so it was fine. And the needle was small, as you say, and they go in, you don't feel any pain. Anyway, she put this needle in right at the top of my head, and I felt this light, like slow lightning trickling down, like from the top of my head, from the needle point down my head. And I think it was only in for about 20 minutes. And then afterwards, I felt really relaxed. And apparently, when I came back in on the Monday afterwards, apparently I was like a little bit like, ooh, a bit like, I don't know what that noise was. But I went home at 6:30 and slept for 14 hours.
Yeah.
I've never done that before in my life. It was ridiculous. And yeah, I didn't really know how to take that, but I clearly needed that rest. It was end of a semester, and I'd come from the UK, and I basically, what I translated it was that I'd never really took the time to transition from living in one part of the world to the other part of the world, and the internal stress that happens. And basically that was my body just like took the time there to recover in that 14-hour period. And yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, your body's just decompressing after a whole semester and a move and everything.
Yeah, pretty crazy. When it comes to using acupuncture as a mental health therapy, do you use or recommend any other like complementary modalities to people?
Yes. I believe in the power of teamwork and supporting an individual, and especially in mental health crisis. I strongly recommend my clients that are having extreme states of imbalance with mental health to be supported by some type of mental health professional, whether that's a psychotherapist, a counselor, doing some type of therapy, whether that's talk therapy traditionally or EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, just getting to know what the root cause of this dysfunction is, so that it doesn't have to be a permanent thing, or it's something that you have tools of all sorts to deal with. I will do some breath work, like some box breathing, just very accessible, not like wild kundalini things.
Sure.
Within the treatment, just to start the treatment off, to get the person settled into the room. People are on different supplements or medications, and I have no judgment within my room what people are using to keep themselves healthy. Even having to do like crisis plans with some people who are in extreme states of distress, of if they're having suicidal thoughts or ideations, I'll listen, and we'll come up with a plan of who are you going to call, who can you reach out to, what are some reasons for staying. I don't think many other registered acupuncturists do this. I know I'm not a trained mental health professional, but it is important to support people and hear them when they're hurting. So we also have a duty to report if we think that somebody is going to harm themselves or somebody else. So yeah, I try to create a really open, confidential space where people can really truly share where they're at.
Yeah, and it's only at that time when you're really going to get the true, authentic response from an individual. When you have that kind of relationship, and as any practitioner, it's important to have a really good referral network. And when it comes to mental health, there is no one thing that's going to fix anybody, but acupuncture could be a really incredible pathway into starting to feel a little bit better, and maybe deciding to do something different, to be connected, into a circle of supportive practitioners. And that's a big thing when it comes to things like anxiety or depression, is the isolation that comes with something like that. And then when you step into like an acupuncture program, you're immediately connected with people, and then you can refer out to other people that can be part of that healing team, because you never go into any type of big change alone. Super important to get support, right? Just kind of wrapping things up here, but do you have any recommended reading or social media accounts for more information about acupuncture, specifically kind of for people who most people have heard of it, but but taking the step between hearing about acupuncture and actually booking an appointment? Is there anywhere that people can get some more information?
Yeah, for sure. There's a book called The Web Has No Weaver, or I think that's the name of the book, just off the top of my head. That's really wonderful and kind of introduces people to the idea of acupuncture. There's tons of wonderful professionals on Instagram and on the internet writing blogs about acupuncture and what it can do. I can't think of any specific people to come to mind. The books that I generally recommend for my clients struggling with, anxiety or stress or large emotional dysfunction and physical pain aren't specifically about acupuncture, but one book that I would recommend everybody to read is When the Body Says No, The Hidden Cost of Stress by Dr. Gabor Mate. It changed my life. I think it also kind of led me to acupuncture because it encompassed this whole psychosocial, biomedical circle of health for me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Final question, I think, in regards to what do you think the expectations would be for somebody who's going to have their first ever acupuncture experience?
Good question.
Thanks.
So the expectations of your first acupuncture treatment, attention being put on you, a space where you're being listened to. I think, speaking for myself, but also the wonderful classmates I went to school with or acupuncturists I've worked alongside with in clinics, are all very compassionate people who listen without judgment and really just want to get to know the root of what's going on with you. So I hope compassion is something you experience in your first treatment. And then, we usually explain it how we see it, acupuncture, and then, the needles are small. A lot of people come to me really afraid of needles. Most of us use guide tubes that take away the sensation of the insertion, which really helps with reducing any pain that there might be. And then, 45 minutes of rest, no pressure on you. Hopefully a nap. It's going to be wonderful. No, I love that. That's wonderful. And in my personal experience, I've only had wonderful acupuncture experiences with many different practitioners. And it's so important to be able to connect with somebody who's going to ask you those key questions about yourself, and then obviously using the different tools that Chinese medicine offers. It can be such an incredible healing first step into your healing journey. We're going to wrap that up. Lacy, where can people get hold of you? Either through email or on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @LacyBrandt Acupuncture. You can message me on there, or my email is lacybrandtacupuncture@gmail.com. I work at a Balanced Body Wellness Clinic in Victoria, BC, close to Cedar Hill Golf Course, and I also do home visits through Men Mobile Health for people who are finding barriers to treatment, whether that's anxiety leaving the house, child care, looking after elderly, We're safe.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that was a thing, like having acupuncture come to your home, because so many people, especially right now, wouldn't want to leave their house. And if you can have acupuncture in the comfort of your own environment, like this is only going to help the process.
Yeah, totally. It's something that kind of came out of COVID. I was noticing that people were hesitant to come back into the clinic. I have Mend Mobile Health is run by a friend that's a wonderful and talented kinesiologist that was treating a lot of people who had been in motor vehicle accidents, and pain or physical limitations were barriers to them coming into treatment, or even anxiety driving. So it's wonderful treating people in their homes, and most people have lovely pets. It's great.
That's great. Well, thanks very much again for coming and talking with us. I've certainly learned a lot about acupuncture, and I think as we go through in this beginning stages of this podcast through a series of chatting to different practitioners, and what I find super interesting is the connected overlay between everything, whether it's nutrition or herbs or acupuncture. Most, I want to say, good practitioners are looking at the whole body.
Mm-hmm.
I think good nutritionists and good acupuncturists know when they might need some assistance or some other support from other practitioners. Not one person is going to be able to fix everything for everybody. That's not really a realistic expectation. But that's great. Thank you so much, Lacy. That's awesome. I really appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.
Any final words?
No, just thank you so much. I'm really grateful for this experience, and for the experience of being able to help people.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, everybody, for listening. This has been the first episode of the official Truehope Canada podcast. Keep an eye out for more in the future, which is going to be a weekly thing. And again, if you want to connect with Truehope Canada, you can do that by going to our website, which is truehopecanada.com, and you can find us at all the usual social media outlets. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a beautiful day.